Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is a special edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Guy, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In this special edition, we'll be looking at the Liberty Party. Before around 2017, it was to be the second party of Councillor Charles Walker Bromskin. Now, where is the Liberty Party today, and what is its role in the ensuing 2023 elections? What is the power structure, and what role does the Liberty Party have to play in all the noise that is going about in the CPP? We are here with an executive of the Liberty Party, Ms. Wadei Powell. Before that, I want to bring in my man, my co-host, Mr. Anthony Sear, the man who eats, drink, and sleep politics. Mr. Sear, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always a pleasure to be co-hosting with you, especially when we have a guest who is comfortably seated. She's no stranger to us here at Focus on Liberia, but I think she's in a different capacity today. She is our distinguished guest, and I'm happy to be here, Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to Focus on Liberia in your capacity as an executive member of the Liberty Party. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you.
And again, 2023 is around the corner. It looks like the Liberty Party for the first time is not fielding a candidate, and we're going to discuss all that. But let me, there are a lot of things going around. There's Liberty Party. First of all, how are you doing? How is the Liberty Party?
We're going through growing pains.
I mean, you would think that at this time the Liberty Party should have grown teeth already. Why is this a teething period?
Well, I'm sure you know, Liberty Party has gone through over the last year and a half, has gone through a transition process, a huge transition process. We've had a constitutional amendment. We have elected a new corps of officers. Prior to the Constitution Amendment, we lost our founder and previous political leader. So there's a lot of changes that have occurred in the Liberty Party within the last year and a half. Whenever you have changes in an organization, there's bound to be some level of discomfort. And we have a lot of what's happening in the party, unfortunately, is not necessarily as a result of or as a source of the internal Liberty Party issue, but rather a lot of things that are spilling over from external areas. But we'll get into that later on.
Right. And let me lay the groundwork before Mr. Sear comes in. I'm interested about the power structure. You know, this thing, and when I was growing up, we didn't have political leaders. Now, we have parties have party chairmen, they have political leaders, and they have all kinds of committees. Tell me, what is the structure of the Liberty Party, especially when it comes to running the party?
Okay. Well, the Liberty Party has three major bodies, I should say, right? Sorry, guys.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Please share the show. We are having a conversation with an executive member of the Liberty Party, Ms. Wadei Powell. Go ahead, Wadei.
So the Liberty Party has the National Convention, which is the highest decision-making body. That body comprises of the National Executive Committee, the county structures, the National Advisory Council, the political leader, and this is where the major decisions of the Liberty Party are taken. The day-to-day administration of the party is under the National Executive Committee, and that committee comprises of 25, right now 24 but 25 persons, 15 of them who are elected at national convention, and 10 of them who are nominated and appointed as eminent partisans. And these are people that come with specific skill sets, may not necessarily be political, but they may be assets that the party needs as far as specialities and skills and whatnot. We have the National Advisory Council. This is the body that is responsible to step in and provide counsel advice
What
to
if, before you move to that group, the National Executive Committee, that's where the chairman of the party is. The
yes.
chairman of the party heads that group.
The chairman heads the National Executive Committee. This is where you have all of your vice chairs for the party and your eminent partisans on a committee. And this committee is charged with executing the mandate from the National Convention, and also charged with carrying out the day-to-day administrative matters of the party in consultation with the political leader of the party.
So it means the chairman actually runs the day-to-day affairs of the party.
That is correct. But it's not the chairman. It is the NEC. The chairman heads the body. And I think it's important for us to make that decision, because even the chairman himself, in this case is a he, even the chairman himself does not make decisions for the body. The body makes decisions, the body votes on decisions, the body carries out the mandates of the National Convention. The chairman happens to be the leader of that body.
Right. Yeah, go ahead, Anthony, because that sounds a little problematic to me, to have maybe 25 persons running the day-to-day affairs. My manager used to say, I want one neck to hold, and that neck should be the neck of the chairman. But in the case, you have a group running the day-to-day affairs of the party. That sounds problematic to me.
Well, I mean, it's just like if you have a company, you have the company has a CEO, but there are directors, right? There's a board, right? And the board has a chairman. But just because you're the chairman of the board doesn't mean that you make the decisions for the board. All of the members who are on that board discuss and make decisions together. It's not problematic. It's consultative.
Thank you. And I get that. That means when decisions are made, the chairman being the executor of those decisions goes about to implement those decisions. So if I stated that correctly, then my question is, what are there some daily duties, yearly duties, or regular duties that are assigned to the chairperson that he does not necessarily have to go to the executive committee to carry out? Are there things set aside that he can do without talking to them?
No.
Okay.
No.
So then talk to me. How are the decisions made at that level of that body you talk about that is the highest decision-making body?
Well, no, the highest decision-making body is a national convention.
Okay.
So and that happens once a year.
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. Not necessarily even once a year. The Constitution provides that it happens
at a convention, maybe?
At a minimum, yeah, the convention once every 3 years, but not less than 6 years. And we have to go to convention a year preceding elections. So that's the highest decision-making body. So we go to convention. Convention is the body that elects the majority of the members of the executive. This is where constitutional amendments are approved. This is where decisions taken on collaboration, mergers, so forth are approved. We also discuss the party's budget and approve those things. So those high-level decisions have to be made at the convention. Now, what happens is once the convention makes these decisions, and there are certain mandates that emanate from these decisions, somebody now has to go back and carry them out and execute those decisions. This is where the executive committee comes into play, and this is supposed to be done in consultation with the political leader of the party. So the political leader and the executive committee, which is headed by the chairman, supposed to work hand in hand together to carry out the mandate of the national convention, and then the National Advisory Council, if need be, is certain things that need to go by the advisory council. So, for example, if there's any disciplinary action that needs to be taken, we seek the advice and input of the advisory council. If there are some matters that we're not able to resolve at the EC and political leader level, and we're also not able to resolve using the party's internal dispute mechanism. This is another area in which the National Advisory Council steps in to provide guidance and advice on how to proceed in these situations.
Thank you. So if we're doing a org structure, where does the political leader fit in that structure?
The political leader works with the National Executive Committee.
But not part of the National Executive Committee? Is that what?
The political leader is not a part of the National Executive Committee. The political leader is also a delegate to the National Convention, just like we all are. The political leader is also an ex official of, for example, the advisory council, the former standard bearers, former political leaders, former vice standard bearers are also ex officials of the advisory council.
So again, in that organizational structure, the political leader sits outside as an ex official.
In which structure? The Liberty Party?
Liberty Party organizational structure.
No. How can the political leader sit outside as an ex official? I said on the advisory council.
Right. So where does the political leader fit? Just to work with? Because you have these groups.
The executive committee and the political leader work together to carry out the mandate of the National Convention.
Where is that in the Constitution?
Well, I don't have the Constitution in front of me, but there's a section in the Constitution that talks about the role of the standard bearer / political leader and the role of the National Executive Committee.
Right.
All right. I was just looking at the structure of the political party. When they did the listing, they started with standard bearer / political leader. And my curiosity here is, why is he just being referenced when that role of standard bearer is periodic? That is when there's a convention and when he's producing, or when there's an election. But then he's being referenced in the Constitution as though he has any other executive responsibilities to carry out. Any reason for that?
Well, the role of the standard bearer, as you correctly said, comes into play during election year. In non-election year, we have, in our Constitution, we have a political leader, right? And 9 times out of 10, what has happened in the past is, as you all know, Liberty Party has historically had one political leader. And over the successive 2005, 2011, and 2017, that individual, in the person of our founding father, the late Councilor Charles Brumskin, also served as the standard bearer of the party. So he went to convention every 6 years and was elected as convention. When he became the standard bearer, then the position of political leader ceases during that period.
Okay.
And then after, if you do not win, which has been the case with the Liberty Party, we have not won the election. After that, the role reverts back to political leader.
Right.
So standard bearer is only for the period of election. Yeah.
And then political leader is the person who is like the godfather of the party, just waiting for the next convention to be selected as being a standard bearer? Because that's what we see here. Whether that's the culture, you know.
Well, that has been the culture in the Liberian space, and this is all some of what we're trying to move away from in the New Liberty Party, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a political party is not only about election year, and what we have seen in the past is that activities with political parties always tend to ramp up the year before election because everybody's excited, they're ready to go for convention and whatnot. Even in the past, you haven't really seen a lot of activity, even when it comes from the political party. Even when it comes to midterm elections, for example, you don't see as much fervor as you do when it comes to the presidential general elections in Liberia. So what we're trying to say is that a couple of things. Number one, that some of the ways in which we have operated in the past has not allowed for to attract new blood into the party, right? There are some people who are not necessarily apolitical, but people who look at political parties and the way they are structured and say, I'm not going to come into that because it's a hegemony, right?
Yeah.
Nobody has an opportunity to make any real moves in a political party the way they are set up in Liberia. The political party is mostly an organization of people who are appointed, and those appointments appear to be elections, but in essence, we know how it works.
Yeah, Madam Pa, I like the way you put it, right? So one would think the Liberty Party, having experienced this with Charles Brunkin being the political leader / standard bearer when there's election time, right? And you are saying that when you have that cloud that, oh, there's this guy there, he's just waiting for that time. So I don't have a space. So it kind of, prevent others who may have ambition to come to the party to compete. Why you didn't try to go away from that? Because my understanding is that you just did a new constitution. Why you can't just get rid of it? Now you have Nyomli.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Change is incremental.
Okay.
Right. You don't jump in and press start and change everything at one point in time, right? So you got to do incremental changes. The good thing about any organization's constitution or bylaws or whatever is that it's a living document. And as you go through your processes, you don't want to tear down an entire structure and start rebuilding, because that in of itself can present a whole slew of problems. As you well know, Liberty Party is a part of the CPP. You also know that at the time that we're going through this process, our political leader, who also happens to be the senator of Grand Bassa County, was in the middle of an election. So it wasn't about making any sudden moves to change that dynamics, because any move you make in the party has a
ripple
effect, right? And so we're taking incremental steps in changing the way the Liberty Party works. Where we have arrived right now wasn't done overnight, and where we want to go is not going to be done overnight.
All right. I think you understand why we are spending some time on this one, because I believe it has been the root of most of the problem that we see in these parties. Let me share with you from your constitution the organizational structure, right? The organizational structure of the party shall consist of the following organs: the National Convention, the National Executive Committee, and that's the one that is headed by the chairman.
Hold on, Dennis. Can you hit that plus and make it bigger? It's hard to read.
Yeah, let me just read it, because
no one can read that right now.
Yeah.
So I think you should remove it.
Yeah, it's so it has. All right. So this structure has the National Convention, the National Executive Committee, that's headed by the chairman, the National Advisory Council, the National Secretariat, the county committees, the standing and specialized committees, the party specialized working groups, the international and diaspora chapters. In all this, there is no organ here that is headed by the political leader. That's what I was referencing when I say he or she sits outside of the structure.
Okay, so now that you have clarified your meaning or definition of outside of this structure, you're absolutely correct. I mean, Dennis, honestly, if you look at political parties the world over, there is no such thing as political leader.
Exactly. That's my point.
Liberia is very unique in that sense, and as a matter of fact, I'm new to politics, but from what I understand, it is actually the Liberty Party that introduced that concept of political leader.
That's why I was going with it, because they wanted a lifetime standard bearer.
Well, I wasn't around to understand the reasoning behind it, so I'm not going to jump to any conclusion. But it would appear that may have been the case. At the end of the day, a political party only needs that figure if it is going to an election, right? And even that process of going to elect that standard bearer, it really is a process that should be open to eligible members of the party and not be a crowning or coronation type of situation. This is what we believe in the Liberty Party, at least the new Liberty Party. This is what we struggle for to accomplish with this new or this amended constitution. But like I said, Rome wasn't built in a night, so change is incremental. This issue of whether or not there was a need for the political leader was actually an issue that was discussed and was debated. But at the end of the day, there were very real and valid strategic and political reasons for us not to do anything about that at this point in time, for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. But you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, the structure all outline who does what, and if you really look at it and you look at how political parties are structured everywhere else in the world but Liberia, the political leader does not exist in that structure.
And then if I may.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and that is the reason what I is saying, hey, change is incremental, but when you want to make change, there are certain things that you can just put right away. And there are certain things, yes, that you have to take these kind of incremental steps, right? That political leader thing is just one thing. Now, if you flip it, if you look here in the US, Joe Biden, what? No one can call him political leader of the Democratic Party. It's just that he's president. When convention is coming, if he decides to run, he will get the opportunity to run.
Right.
But if he doesn't run, he's not going to be political leader. So going to Liberia and see that people are doing this thing, I mean, that's one of the things you need to pull out right away so that there will be competition. It is this culture that is being created that we're even hunting the CPP right now, because these political leaders have to be, because in their individual parties, they must be.
Absolutely.
That is the chaos, and we need to get rid of that.
I share that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I share that opinion, and eventually, like I said, the Constitution is a living document.
Okay.
When you're building something, you don't do all at one time. And there were strategic and political reasons why at this time, especially given what was going on with midterm elections that were coming up, our participation in the CPP, so forth and so on, there were political and strategic reasons for us not to touch that particular clause. However, I totally agree with you.
But you're not feeding Kennedy, though, so that was a perfect opportunity.
Yes, no, we're not feeling. But at the time that we took the decision, we had not made the decision not to field
Not
Kennedy.
to feed a Kennedy. Okay.
Yes, right.
Thank you.
So we had to make that decision. But like I said, we are growing. This is we're gonna take one step today, and we're gonna perfect that step, and we're gonna go through the growing pains, and we're gonna go to the next phase where we take additional steps to perfect it, so that the Liberty Party eventually gets to the level where it is a fully functioning party, both during election years and outside of election years, and 5 years outside of election year. This is another thing that we have, problem that we have with political parties. Once election is over, everybody goes in their corner, hibernates, nobody's doing anything, boom. 5 years later, everybody comes out and there's this frenzy to start trying to accomplish things that you should have been accomplishing 5 years
Right.
in preparation, right? So we're trying to change all of that also.
Thank you. The Liberty Party has had its share of issues and internal squabbles, starting with the elections of Mr. Musa Bility. We saw the clashes between and amongst the three who were considered the heads. That's the political leader, the chairman, and also the most popular senator, the proverbial light. What caused all this problem, and what really, can you tell us what this all about? Was Musa Bility forced in there? Was he imposed, or how did this all happen? How did it go down? For which we had all the troubles post Musa Bility elections.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that Musa was not forced in. He was not imposed on anyone. But Dennis, I challenge you to see to show me any political party that has gone through elections process or change process that has not had Wahala come out of it. It just doesn't happen in our political space. This is just the way it is. However, this is not to say that certain people that had issues or concerns, that those concerns were not valid, right? And there will always be people that have issues and concerns just because, and there will be issues that people that have issues and concerns that are valid. And part of our work as a party coming out of a convention with new officers, a new constitution, has been to reach out to a lot of these people that have had issues with the new chairman in the past, to reach out to find out what exactly are the issues and whether or not these are issues that are solvable, that are valid, or whether it's just an issue of a personal difference between two people that, well, somebody doesn't like somebody else. We do have that situation also, right? In the instances where people have said, listen, my concern is this specifically, and I think that the party needs to do X, Y, Z to address this. We've engaged those people. The chairman himself, if you recall, the major group that was heading a lot of the efforts when we first came back from convention was a group called the Concerned Liberty Party, right? We all heard about that, or Concerned Liberty Partisans, right? Since we came from convention, the chairman and a lot of the people within that very group who were calling for him not to be accepted, they have had several conversations. They are working together. Some of these people are coming back into the Liberty Party to play a key role in the party and whatnot. So some of these issues are being solved. Liberty Party, as you well know, has always been a party that resolved this issue in the background. We've never been the party to have everything in the front of the media and whatnot. This is why it's so shocking about what's going on right now, because it seems like everything we're doing right now is being put out in the media. I will say this. We definitely have our fair share of people in the Liberty Party who just have refused to accept this new way of doing things.
Who are those people? If you,
I'm not gonna list names here. I think that would be unfair to those individuals, because in any situation you have a potential of being able to come back to the table and have conversation and resolve your differences. So I don't think that this is the platform for me to name names. However, However, the vast majority of the partisans do not fall into that category. There are people who have personal differences with the chairman, and they want that personal difference to spill over to the party. We won't allow that. It's not, if you have a personal difference with the chairman, sort your issues outside of the party. It's not our party's business. But you can't bring that into the party. There are also some people who who, when you, especially people who have been in Liberty Party for the longest time, when you have become accustomed to a party structure being a certain way, and the decision making in the party being a certain way, and the political leader of the party being Genesis, either you or Anthony just referred to it as the Godfather, it's hard to break that cycle. And so some people want to continue that cycle for various reasons, some of which, being the Godfather or the political leader of the party in the way that it was done before, you were the singular decision maker in the party. It's not that way anymore, and that is going to ruffle some feathers, which it has. It's going to take some time getting used to. It's going to take time for people to understand that we are no longer a party where any one individual, be it the political leader or the chairman,
and what it,
decision.
And what it does, that has been the concern, right? That that's what the Constitution was tampered with, so has to strip the political leader of her powers and give those powers to the party chairman, and all fingers were pointing at Mr. Ability for doing that.
That's incorrect. That's incorrect. First of all, the political leader being stripped of her powers. I don't know if you want to use that terminology. What I would say, the way I would describe it, and this was the intent of everything that we did, was to remove the unilateral decision making from one person and spread that across the body using a more consultative and engagement process. This was not something that happened overnight. This was something that was discussed. This was something that was agreed. This was something that was in the first version of the amendment that was discussed, reviewed, and approved at our Buchanan retreat before we went to convention. This was something that the political leader herself signed on, because you'll see you have a document there that is a document from Buchanan. This is where all of the Constitutional Review Committee went, with all of the executives of the party, and we sat for 2 days going through recommendations for amendments that have been received from both the committee and from people outside. And we went line by line and said, this is what the Constitution now says, which was the 2015 Constitution. And this is what we're recommending it to say. And this is the reason why we're recommending this change. And all of the changes that we made to the Liberty Party Constitution was to make it a more democratic document and to make the organization run more democratically, right? And more consultative, right? So when people who are running around saying the political leader power was stripped, as if the political leader was on board with this. Even in the letter that the political leader sent to the executives of the party to call for the convention and open the convention, she said it in the letter that she was happy with the way Liberty Party was progressing, that we were opening the space for new people to come in. We were opening the space for Liberty Party to engage itself in a more consultative process. These are quotes from, words from the letter. So it's not like we went behind the house and did something to the document and brought it back. And no, the political leader was aware. Everybody was aware of this. We now get to convention. Now, mind you, at the time that we were going through the review process and the approvals and whatnot, people were preparing for senatorial elections, right? So who knows? Maybe this could have been a situation where at that time it was a good thing to have as a marketing tool, because that was a promotion. If you are part of a party that is taking these actions that are seen to the public as progressive, you are seen in a good light. So it was heralded by the political leader. It was heralded by Senator Dillon. It was heralded by everybody that the changes that we're making were good for the health of the party. Fast forward.
Go ahead.
Fast forward. elections have now passed. We're now going to convention to endorse the document, and all of a sudden a question comes up about the political leaders' powers being stripped from the Constitution. And it was as if this was brought up by Senator Dillon, and we said, but absolutely, this was not a mistake; it was intentional. The constitutional amendments that we've spent a year and a half almost arriving at was never meant to keep the powers with one person. It was meant to keep to share that power or that authority across the board. And the political leader still has the authority. It's just that now she or he does not have it all alone. It is now shared.
Right.
And no power was given to Musa. I'll tell you this, the chairman in Liberty Party cannot make any decision for Liberty Party.
Yeah. So, what give us an example, let's say a summary of what was taken from the political leader and spread across based on the Constitution.
Everything having to do with the running of the party. The decisions coming out of the National Convention. It's all now between the political leader and the National Executive Committee. The day-to-day is handled by the National Executive Committee. So when we have issues that come up, for example, up until now, mind you, we came from convention in January, right? All of this hullabaloo started in June. We came from convention in January, and the political leader and the chairman were working in consultation with each other. They would have their meetings, their briefings, and whatnot, and then the chairman would have NEC meetings. He would brief us on what the political leader thoughts were on issues. The political leader has full access to the NEC and can come, whenever she wants. Or she can say, I want to come to an NEC meeting. I want to speak to you guys. So this was happening. We were engaging and everything was going fine until this accusation came up about framework. I'm sorry, framework. I'm saying framework because that's the same situation.
And we're coming to the framework.
Constitutional alteration.
Right.
So we asked, what exactly are you talking about? What exactly was altered in the Constitution? We were in the process of having an internal discussion about this using the party's internal dispute mechanism. In the middle of that process, we learned that the political leader had written to the National Elections Commission to withdraw the Liberty Party Constitution, an authority that she doesn't have. Nobody can just unilaterally withdraw the party's constitution from the NEC. Just how the thing that carries the constitution to the neck is a convention. That is the same thing that is required to withdraw that constitution. Right. So if we want to withdraw the constitution and replace it, we have to go to convention. So nobody can just right neck and say that document you got over there, don't pay attention to it anymore. Go back to the one from 2015. It is incorrect.
So there's obviously a clash now between the political leader and Senator Dillon on one side and Musa Bility on the other side. Mm-hmm. What is responsible for this and how is it going now?
Now, this I would say this is my personal opinion, right? So I'm taking off my Liberty Party hat and I'm putting on my Wadei Powell hat. This issue that is causing this problem is stemming from one place and one place only. Whether or not to allow the Constitution as it's written to be perfected and to be executed in the decision making of who the Liberty Party will support in the 2023 election. This is what's causing the problem. Right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, you go up, you come down. Anybody that has an issue with this, you're going to have to sort this issue out. No single person in the Liberty Party will make a determination for who the Liberty Party supports, or even if the Liberty Party supports anybody. We have a body, which is the National Convention. It is clearly spelled out in the constitutions that any decisions having to do with collaboration, with mergers, with all of these sorts of things, that decision is taken by the National Convention. But instead of us sitting down and saying, okay, Liberty Party has made a decision not to put up a candidate, right? And that decision that Liberty Party made not to put up a candidate was in the interest of the country, right? Instead of us saying now, okay, we know that we are part of this collaboration. And we know that there are right now two individuals that are the forerunner in for the standard bearership of the CPP. We know that the likelihood that we will have to endorse one or the other exists. So Liberty Party, let's get together. Let's sit down and discuss. If Liberty Party is to endorse a particular candidate, what will be the basis of that endorsement?
Right.
We're not going to go there. We pick one candidate fine, or we pick the other candidate because the candidate does. No. There must be a basis
but what is
links back to our Liberty Party platform.
Right. But is it even part of your platform or your the ruling of the party to endorse anybody, or you go to the convention and each representative will pick whoever they want to? I mean,
exactly.
So the concept of endorsing, because we've seen Mr. Ability, who was, people say, on a tour with Mr. Cummings, which was almost an implied endorsement. We also heard from Senator Dillon, who had openly endorsed former Vice President Joseph Boakai. Is it anywhere in Liberty Party for individuals to endorse or for the party to endorse? Or you wait until the convention, you pick a candidate? What's going on here?
Okay, so the Liberty Party obviously is as a member of any organization, and especially in a situation of a political party in Liberia. While there is no constitutional rule that says you can't do this, you can't do that, but the Liberty Party has a channel by which it communicates its position, right? So as an individual, it's up to me to be responsible and respect and wait for the organization to reach that level. I may have my own leanings, personal, and everybody is entitled to have their own leanings. But at the end of the day, the place to voice that leaning is when we go to convention. So in the case of Senator Dillon, for example, who told the public that he was leaning towards Joseph Boakai, I think that preempted the party's position, and it should not have been done, and that the place for him to have voiced that opinion would have been at convention. However, that does not negate his right to do that, because there is no legal requirement that says that one cannot do this. It is more of an issue of being a team player, and following not following, but wanting to promote the interest of the general body as opposed to individual interest, right? Listen, let's say, Dennis, you were running for president and Anthony was running for president, right? Or Senate bearership, as the tradition say president,
right?
For Senate bearership of the CPP. And for some reason, my leaning is towards you, and not towards Anthony. But I'm a part of the Focus of Liberia group, right? Where we got maybe 30 people in our group, right? And all of us got to go one day to go decide whether that you, Dennis, or you, Anthony, that will be our leader, right?
Right.
It's up to me. If I believe that Dennis should be the one we should vote for, it's up to me to go and lobby all of my colleagues to convince them as to why I feel that we should go this way, right? That's what you do when you're trying to get people to see things your way.
Exactly.
But for some reason, people believe that you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to talk to anybody. You're just supposed to sit and wait for some kind of magic switch to go off to determine what the Liberty Party does. And that's absolutely incorrect.
Right.
Now, my lobbying someone does not mean that I will convince them. I hope to convince them, but it may be a situation where the person say, you know what, I'm convinced that I'm staying on this side. Even in lobbying, sometimes that person that I'm going to go lobby, maybe that person will lobby me too and say, but you see it my way. And this is the reason why I think we should go on the other side. This is how political parties should work.
Right. Oh, Wadei, the Liberty Party is clearly part of the CPP, and there has been a lot of noise concerning framework document change, go this way or that way. Does the Liberty Party has a role, or what is the Liberty Party saying, or is it everybody on their own concerning the changing of the framework document? I watched the interview or the press conference by the Liberty Party political leader, who happens to be the CPP chair, said, well, this is what URE says about the changing of the framework. Where does the Unity Party, the Liberty Party, stand on the framework hullabaloo?
Okay, so let's back up a little bit, right?
Okay.
And put this in context. Mr. Ure made an allegation that the framework document was fraudulently altered, right? At the time, during the time period which he's referencing, the CPP was under the leadership of the ANC. So if there was any fraudulent alteration of a document, it would have had to have happened by the ANC. So even though the ANC's name was not mentioned, even by virtue of making that allegation, you're through a backdoor means accusing that of happening under the ANC's leadership. So ANC then wrote back to the chair of the CPP and said, we've seen Mr. Ure's allegation. Can you please ask Mr. Ure to provide the specific provisions of the framework document that was altered? Because when you throw out an allegation like someone fraudulently changed a legal document, that's huge.
Yeah.
And so it cannot be something that is just thrown out and say, okay, let's go on a fishing expedition to see what happens. As of now, it is my understanding that there is an investigative committee that has been commissioned to go through this allegation and make a determination as to whether or not any provisions were changed. Now, over the period of time, the conversation has evolved, right? So the latest conversation has evolved to it being, well, the lawyers made an amendment to the document. We knew that the lawyers made an amendment to the document. We reviewed the amendment to the document. We accepted it, but we didn't have a chance to. But some people are saying we didn't have a chance to sign the document. Some people are saying that the document that they have from the lawyers is different from the document that is filed at NEC. Well, for me, this is a whole bunch of hullabaloo that is unnecessary, right?
Right.
Because on May 19th, the CPP signed the framework.
Right.
This was done via Zoom. The entire world saw it. Immediately when that was done, the framework document was released to the public. Immediately there was backlash from the public because there were some tenets in the framework agreement that the public felt was selfish.
Right.
One specific one being this issue of employment by known and visible.
No, active and visible.
Exactly. So right then and there, the parties agreed that it would be a good idea to have lawyers review this framework document, which had not been done before. To have lawyers review this framework document to make sure that it was legally sound, that it accurately reflected the desires of the CPP, the parties in the CPP, and that it was fair. It was in the interest of the Liberian people, which is who the CPP seeks to serve, right?
Right. Wadei, before you continue, I don't want to
kind of push you on CPP document, but when that document first came up, we did a review here and it was horrible,
Honey,
right?
I
Why,
did also.
right? Why would a CPP, a group of 4 political parties, come up with a document that lawyers did not even look at?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, at that time, at the time that this was happening, I myself was not as personally involved in the CPP as I am now. I was not a member of the CPP executive committee. I was also not a member of the drafting committee, so I wasn't anywhere near that. So I was getting this information just as the public was getting the information. And when I saw the first document, I also was very shocked. And I said to some of my people from Liberia, I said, well, wait a minute, y'all actually sat in this developmental stage, and this is what you guys came up with. Anyway, thank God for the public. It went back to the lawyers. The lawyers presented a draft, an amended framework document, along with what they termed as issues arising from the review. And essentially saying that we've reviewed this document. We see that these are all of the issues that could present either a legal problem or whether it's a structural problem, whatever it is. And this is what we're suggesting you do to change it. And they amended the document. The lawyers made a presentation to all of the parties on June 23rd at Liberty Party headquarters. Everybody went through the presentation, so it had an opportunity to discuss the intents behind all of this, and all of these amendments were approved by all of the parties.
And what does that approve mean? You agree?
That, yes, they agreed to the amendments,
but did not sign.
No, because at that time it was only a review session.
Okay.
So what happened after they agreed to that? Then they were required to submit a resolution, which is now what would formalize their agreement to the document. All 4 parties submitted the resolution because that was the only way you could have even filed that NEC, because NEC is not going to accept a framework document, or which is essentially the party's constitution, without a resolution that says we agree to this, without signatures of all of the parties. So that was filed at NEC along with the resolutions, and it became the document that we've been operating under for 16 months.
Right. So the approval process meant, because if lawyers made changes, those changes must actually be written down, accepted.
Yes.
Physically type in what was changed and accepted.
Yes.
So after that, this document becomes a new document. Does that need any signature, any further signature, or just need the resolution?
No. Okay. So what? No, it did. So what happened was at the time of the signing of the first document, this was done via Zoom. So everybody were in different locations, right? So you had your signature page. Anthony had his signature page. I had my signature page. We're all in different locations. So we each of the political leaders signed one signature page, right?
Right.
After the signing, someone from the party was charged to going around to all of the political leaders to get the remaining signatures on all of the the signature sheet. That actually did not happen until after the lawyers had submitted their documents and it had been approved. That should have happened immediately after the Zoom, but it could not because of the backlash that resulted in the review, necessitated the review.
And let me stop you there again. I mean, you and I, a document, let's say, of 25 pages, right? Changes are made to the document. Now you are coming to me, not with the 25-page document, you are coming to me with one sheet of paper, plain paper, for me to sign on. How does that make any sense?
Well, like I said, I don't know what some people were thinking at that point in time, but this is what happened. But also now, mind you, that document had already been provided to them previously.
Right.
It had been sent to them. It had been reviewed at the meeting with the lawyers, and it had been accepted. So when Moali went around with the sheets, they had the document already.
So who did that final compilation of or the final amendment after the lawyers changes? Oh, the lawyers.
The lawyer, what the lawyers presented was actually an amended document. So
Right.
they provided a document with the changes already incorporated, and then it had a sheet, a separate sheet that says issues arising out of, and on that sheet it said section so and so. This is what it was. This is what we've changed it to. This is the reasoning behind it. So one by one, all of the changes were chronicled.
That's beautiful. But instead of signing the document now, somebody got on pen with one sheet of paper, and people are signing to that blank paper, thinking they are signing the document.
Well, I don't know if they got on pen, but it would appear that
I'm exaggerating to make the point.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
But how is that legal?
Now, how is what legal for someone to go around and get signatures?
Right, on one piece of paper that you are signing.
Don't forget, Dennis, this was in the height of COVID.
No, what I mean is you take the entire document, let people sign on it.
They already had the document.
Because if I sign on one sheet of paper, someone can take that sheet of paper and put it on their girlfriend letter and say, hey, this is the one we signed.
Absolutely. Could the process have been better? Absolutely. But that does not negate the fact that there was no alteration.
Okay.
So those are two separate issues, right? Yeah. Could there have been missteps in the process? Possibly. But were those missteps intentional? They were not. I don't believe so.
Well, you don't know that for a fact.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay,
I said I don't believe so. Were they fraudulent? I do not believe so. The document, because the parties did not only sign the signature sheet, the parties also around the same time. As a matter of fact, if you look at all of the resolutions from the party, all of the resolutions from the party are notarized. 3 of them are notarized on the 7th, and 1 is notarized on the 6th. So it clearly shows that when they did the notarization, it was in reference to the document that the lawyers had prepared, and not in reference to the one that had been prepared since April. Because had it been about that, the notarization would have had the April date.
Right. But what I heard from the ANC secretary is when the political leaders were signing that new document, they decided to use the May 19th date instead of the date they were signing the document.
That's correct. And I don't know what the logic, like I said,
who does that?
I wasn't there at that time, at that point in time, to understand what the reasoning behind that was. Maybe they felt that since this was the date that they had, given to the whole world, that it was a ceremonial date, so they wanted to keep that. I don't know. Even the amended version, the cover page of the amended version still carries the May 19th date. So it possibly could have been just in reference to that cover page. I don't know why, but Dennis, again, I want us to separate the issue of procedural issues from alteration.
Right, and Wadei, I'm not even assuming alteration. I'm just I'm just asking these questions because it doesn't make any sense to me, right?
I mean, there's some of the processes that occurred leaves some things to be desired. Absolutely.
Because that's what we do here at and I don't want to throw my own work out there, but even if you have if you had a document yesterday and you made some changes today,
management process. This is the world that I come from, Dennis.
And that's the world Mr. Cummings come from.
Yeah, so I cannot tell you why XYZ happened, or I can't even tell you exactly what happened. All I can tell you is based on my personal review of the chronology of events, looking at the various dates that were on these documents, looking at the dates that it was notarized, looking at the dates on the email from the lawyer that sent the documents to the party, looking at all of that, I've been able to build a chronology of events. Now,
Yeah.
administratively, were there some issues, some things that they could have handled and should have handled better? Absolutely.
Right.
But also taken the two documents and done a line by line, because I wanted to do this for myself, and done a line by line comparison of the two documents to determine whether, number one, are there any provisions that were changed? Are there any provisions that were removed? Are there any provisions that were added? Because for me, those are the substantive issues when it comes to document alteration, right? And there isn't. Every provision in the in the document from the lawyers is in the final document. Now, I did see some uh, editing as far as the numbering and those.
And something about the health.
No, it's in both. The issue of as a matter of fact, the issue of health is constitutional. The Constitution of the Republic and the election laws requires that the person running for president be in good health.
So what? Maybe someone say, "Oh man, you're in America, so you're different." You heard Anthony and myself collaborating on a Google Doc. There's something in Word document called track changes. We could all put something. I don't know if people are still using Dropbox, but a shared drive that people use instead of someone getting on pen and going from house to house for signature.
Dennis, I don't think you quite understand it. And once again, do you know why? One of the reasons why Liberty Party in its new constitution added the rules of eminent partisans?
No,
it was specifically to beef up the capacity of the party and bring people who operate in these spaces into the party, as opposed to it just being a political people who are in there because they have a political. Dennis, the sort of things that you consider basic in America, in the environment that you work in and whatnot, are not basic here.
No.
You even have what do you call it? Some people don't even know what track changes is. Some people have no idea when you say Dropbox or shared document folder. That they don't know those things. So once again, I wasn't there when they were doing this, but I guarantee you, had I been there, a part of that process, a lot of this stuff would have been done differently.
Right. I mean, Mariah was there, Talia was there, but here's the question. Now, what is being said is your political leader, according to the ANC secretary, is behind the same mastermind of all that is going on.
What was that said?
Excuse me?
When was that said?
Today. Yeah, in the press conference, say, well, it is Euro that is coming out to say it. Mr. Boakai is not explicitly saying it, but he's agreeing with it. And the political leader of your party, Liberty Party, is like in the dark, not showing out her hands, but doing this so that because both Unity Party, ALP and LP political leaders support Mr. Boakai. So they say your political leader is in the background doing all this, and I'm not able to quote him directly, but it's like the background mastermind of all this that is going on.
Well, listen, I have learned it is not to jump to conclusions on anything, but also not to put my neck on the chopping board for anybody. I put my neck on the chopping board for one particular individual in this political process. I put everything I had on the line. I took his campaign and put it on top of my head, and I made fuss with plenty of people for his business. And when time came, it was a different story. So I'm not gonna say yes. I'm not gonna say no. However, what I will say is this: whether Ure is behind this, whether Boyka is behind it, whether Yumli is behind it, whether Cummings is behind it, the issue here is very simple. This is very simple. People are wanting to make this a difficult issue, and it would seem that there are ulterior motives. I myself have my speculations on things, which are, once again, if I don't have facts and evidence, I don't voice things out like that. But it is very clear that a lot of these things are being done because certain people want to be able to bring their CPP to disrepute and find a way to find their way out. Let me ask you a question. Why would you be concerned about a clause that says the candidate must be in good health? Is that number one is a constitutional requirement. Number two, are you saying that your candidate is not in good health? Is that why this clause is troubling you?
Yeah.
It's a constitutional clause that is there for everybody. Secondly, why would you be so concerned about a withdrawal clause that says if you want to leave the CPP, you're more than willing to leave the CPP, but you commit to not putting up a political candidate? Well, why are you so concerned about that clause if you don't intend to use it? Right?
Yeah.
One thing I know about contracts, people really go to contracts to read it when they get ready to do something. Then they say, let me go to see what the contracts say. Then they know how to proceed based on the rules in the contract. So are people hell bent on pushing this matter because they want to find a way out? That's speculation on my part, but I really see that as a possibility.
Right.
Is it a situation where people want to because everything that's happening right now at the end of the day, nobody can believe that this is beneficial for the CPP. It is not beneficial for the CPP.
But how do you analyze the role of your political leader vis-a-vis the Liberty Party in this whole problem?
I have certain issues, not with the role of my political leader. I'm not going to talk about the role because that's for me. That is a supposition. What you just said that came out today. My concern with my political leader is more, once again, arbitrarily and unilaterally acting at the CPP level without consultation with the Liberty Party Executive Committee.
Does your constitution make any room for that? What can you do in that process?
Well, at the end of the day, the way the CPP is structured, the political leader sits on the National Advisory Council, and the chairman and 5 National Executive Committee members from each party sit at the CPP National Executive Committee. So we have 5 persons from Liberty Party, Unity Party, ALP, and ANC that sit at the NEC level, CPP NEC level. Now, with the CPP framework document, the CPP NEC is actually the executive organ of the CPP. So when you look at the framework document, the highest decision-making body is the National Assembly. Outside of the National Assembly is the National Executive Committee. The role of the National Advisory Council is clearly defined. It is not a decision-making body.
Right, but these political leaders have been making...
This is the problem that I have with my political leader. Right. Because when we took over the leadership of the CPP, we discussed this issue and we brought this issue to her and said, listen, this is the way the CPP framework document says the CPP is supposed to run. But then all of a sudden, we're hearing that political leader is making certain decisions on...
This is how the CPP been running, right? The political leaders have been making all these decisions. And I'll give you an example. And I think prior, you talk about VPS and all the other stuff. In Nimba County, when these things came about, and I think the political leaders agree, or that this party takes this county, this party takes this county. It came to a point that Nimba County was given to ANC, and Tai Wangbe was the preferred choice of the political leader. time came that it changed, and the political leader decided that they should have a primary. So political leaders have been making decisions all along. What changed?
Well, okay, so going back to the Taiwan issue, the way the Liberty Party, the CPP works is you try to reach consensus. So if you're able to reach consensus on the counties, on certain counties, there's no need to go to primary. Right. In the instance of NIMBA, there was no consensus reached. So NIMBA was not given to ANC.
How about Bong? How about Bong County? Bong County with Solonte.
I don't have the records right now of the hemp. I know specifically about Nimba County. The reason I know for Nimba County is because Liberty Party had a candidate in that race. So
Monserrato was given to was a consensus.
There was consensus reached on Monserrato. There was nobody else that said no to Monserrato going to Liberty Party. So consensus was reached.
All right.
The issue of Nimba is that consensus was not reached. And in the event that consensus is not reached, the framework document says you go to primary. So I think your information that NIMBA was given to ANC, that's not accurate. NIMBA was not given to anybody because no consensus was reached on NIMBA.
And the only place consensus was reached is Monserrato, where the light
consensus was reached on Monserrato.
Then you thought, was there any consensus in the district where Phoebe Henry was running?
No. So let's talk about the Phoebe issue now, right?
Right.
Because that was in my opinion, was a complete disaster. Let me tell you why.
Yeah. And that's what I'm getting at, right? Because the political parties,
absolutely. And I had a problem with that District 9 issue myself, and I voiced that concern. However, prior to that time, I was not on the Liberty Party Executive Committee. I joined the Liberty Party Executive Committee in January. So at the time these elections were going on, I was not at the table to be able to influence the process.
But you saw the minutes, you saw the notes, you saw the history.
It still doesn't matter if I'm not at the table to be able to influence the outcome of things, right? I'm an outsider just like you. I can be unhappy about it. I can voice my concerns about it, which I did. I was very vocal about it. But at the end of the day, I was not in that position. I am in that position now, which is why every opportunity that I see that comes to us for us to correct some of these errors, I take it. Right? Because at the end of the day, what you have happening with CPP right now, and what CPP is trying to achieve, is very aggressive. It's a very aggressive desire or whatnot. It's not going to happen overnight. You put in 4 people in a room, all of them got political ambitions and desires. And all of them come from different parties that got different platforms, that got different interests. You put the 4 people together in the room and say, we're going to collaboration, and here is how we'll do it. In the beginning, the honeymoon period was there. Everybody was lovey-dovey because we hadn't really gotten into the nitty-gritty of how this thing works. Now,
and that was my frustration, like this hurry, because the objective, and we spoke about it, the objective here is, hey, let all of us come together. That's the only way we can win. So if you base things on that premise, if those anyway, let's move on because we have callers and we have comments I want to go to quickly. But before that, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll read our comments and bring in our callers. Callers, the number is on the screen there. Please make your call, and we're going to bring you in. We'll take a short break and be right back.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
Welcome back. This is Focus on Liberia. We are in discussion with an executive member of the Liberty Party, and we are talking all about Liberty Party. The last time we were having a different show, and I said, is Liberty Party the problem child here or the spoiler? And why they didn't like that. So we're going to talk all about the Liberty Party today. So if you're there, please call the number on your screen. It's 605-313-6004. The code is 791403. Let's bring in some comments here. Gabriel Carter say, hello, Wadei Powell. Thank you for coming forward to clear the air. Jabwe Colley say, this lady knows nothing about Liberty Party. She's one of the many problems in our party. Kafumba Soare say, political leader equals godfather. Banendo, the concept of a political leader introduced in the Liberian political structure a few years ago is anti-democratic and creates conflict in modern-day political organization. Samuel Morgan, political party always needs a chairperson, not a political leader. Emmerich said no, the two different places. I don't know. Grace is coming back, say, ask her how long she's been part of the Liberty Party. So let's address Grace's question, say, how long you been here and you don't know anything about Liberty Party?
So how long have I been here and I don't know anything about Liberty Party?
Yeah.
That's the question?
Yeah, from Grace Dixon. She says she's a partisan of Liberty Party.
Uh-huh. And she's asking, how long have I been in Liberty Party because I don't know anything about Liberty Party?
Not because. Two questions. You say you don't know anything about Liberty Party. And two, how long have you been in Liberty Party?
I joined the Liberty Party in 2016, actually, when Councillor Brumskin was still alive. And I joined the Liberty Party because of Councillor Brumskin. I didn't join the Liberty Party because it was some kind of fantastic party or they had a great constitution or whatever, right? I joined the Liberty Party because I believe in an individual that was heading out to become president, and that's why I stayed in the Liberty Party, because I feel that it's definitely a vehicle that can be used as a change in the political space in Liberia. Now, as to the callers or the commenters. The commenters' opinion on what I do know or don't know about Liberty Party, I don't think I need to respond to that. That's an opinion; it's not a fact. Okay. I don't deal with opinions. I deal with facts. So, I've been in Liberty Party since 2017.
Thank you.
2016.
Dave Jackson, where are the LP's former vice presidential candidates? Were those improvised candidates, or are they still active in the party? And to add to that, I think I saw Harrison Conway on the committee.
Yeah, the former Vice Senator Harrison Conway is a member of the National Advisory Committee.
And in fact, that was a 10-member committee to look at the alleged alteration of the Constitution. I will be a report yet?
A 7-member committee. That committee, as far as I know, the work is still in process. So I'm not going to comment on that part of it because the committee is still doing work. We hope to hear back from the committee soon, so that we can clear up this matter,
right?
And move forward.
I wonder why it's taking that long. I mean, to compare two documents, which one is changed, should take like what, 48 hours?
You would think. But like I said, I'm not going to comment because this matter is under the auspices of the National Advisory Council at this time.
And why is this altering constitution offering? Why does it keep coming up?
When it came up the first time with Liberty Party, I was very shocked because in my mind, I'm like, how does one alter a document and it goes unnoticed, a legal document, a constitution of a political party, and it goes unnoticed for close to 7 months, and the party is taking actions in accordance with this document, this new constitution. For example, the appointment of the EC members, the eminent members, the appointment of the advisory council. There's so many actions that we took as a result of the new constitution. So how does one for 7 months not see that this document was altered? I don't get it.
Right. And how can we fix this?
When it's same, it's simple to fix. Take the whatchamacallit, the document that was approved. Take the motions that were made and approved in Banga and see whether or not it's reflected in the final document as filed at NEC. This is a simple issue.
Right. And we've been calling for at least a website of the, take for instance, if this document, because it's public, if it were put on the website of CPP, absolutely. I mean, we all see it, but we've been calling for it since it was withdrawn after the backlash. I really have not seen where it's being put out. Maybe it's being sent to individuals, but if it is out there, if it is on a website, if it is on a Facebook,
as far as I know, it's not.
Yeah, then so we keep coming back to the same issue. Dave is also saying, what's the numerical strength of the LP? And we're discussing this. Sometimes they say, okay, Unity Party is the biggest party, Liberty Party is the second. And how we know this? So what's the numerical strength of the LP?
I think that everybody goes, when you talk about numerical strength, everybody goes on election results. How many people voted for the party or the how people voted for the candidate during an election. That's that's the only data that we have in the country. What people fail to realize is that the dynamics of this data changes from year to year. So it doesn't stay stagnant from 6 years to the next 6 years, right?
But voters are not members.
Sorry?
Voters are not members of the party.
No. I'm saying that is the way Liberians determine the strength of the party. They don't determine the strength of the party based on its members. They determine the strength of the party based on its numbers, how well it did in an election.
And what is the LP own metrics of determining its own strength? And what is that?
We're working on that right now because, once again, don't forget, our dynamics have changed drastically. We had a stand-up and political leader that was a very dominating figure in the party. So the dynamics that came along with Charles Bromskin being a part of, heading the Liberty Party, that has also been shaken. So Liberty Party is in a new space right now. We're getting new members in. Some people have fallen off because they've decided not to participate in politics anymore. Some people have gone to other political parties, so and whatnot. We're in the process of our. This is also the thing that is upsetting me about all of this wahala, because instead of us being able to focus on the work of the party all day long, we're spending and proving about altered constitution and this and that and the other, It's very unfortunate. It's very sad, but
that is sad. And I was wondering to myself, so what's the ultimate goal? Let's say,
I told somebody the other day, I say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We'll take our chairman and our political leader. We'll put them in one room. We'll lock them in that room. They will sit down in that room together until they get good message in the car side and tell us we're together. I jokingly said it, but at the end of the day, the political leader and the chairman got to figure out a way to get past this impasse. I know from the standpoint of the political leader that she may feel that certain people in the party or within the executive committee specifically have not aligned themselves with her, and so that may mean that we're against her. I'm not against the political leader, but I am against certain actions that has been taken, and when I'm against something, I voice that opinion. And unfortunately, within the Liberian political party setting, you're not supposed to voice your opinion to the political leader, because the political leader is this
It's almighty.
exactly. So
But
absolutely.
what the political leader is not alone, right? The political leader is joined by the most powerful, most popular senator.
Oh, please don't even get me started on that.
Yeah. No, you can get started because
on that issue. Let me just say this, and
yeah. Let me finish my question, then you can come. This popular senator, the light, first call most ability is Saul, who's now changed to Paul, meaning this guy was really bad, and and now he's Paul. Now the new thing is this guy is a BM. He uses the black money. Now he's comes out, he's clean, but he's still going back to his dirty ways, if I will paraphrase. So it is not. So if you look at the chairmanability now, in what we used to say in Bannersville, is like rice bread, fire on top, fire under.
I don't know what that means.
It means he's being peppered both by the political leader and the most popular senator.
Okay.
So that's fire.
Well, I will say this to you. At the end of the day, Senator Dillon is a member of the National Executive Committee, like I am, like any other EC member. And so the roles that we play are at the same level. When I'm looking at, to say, leaders, in a scheme of things within political party, I'm looking at my chairman and my political leader. Outside of that, there's no other.
No, you have the caucus. You have the legislative caucus that are part of the. Okay, no, that's part of the CPP, not the LP.
Exactly, that's CPP. Yeah. That's not what the body. Yeah, that's CPP.
But the caucus is also powerful. But we have a caller. So and your thought, and then we bring our first caller.
We don't even know what the caucus voting on, what they're doing. When we tell them don't take $15,000 and $30,000, tell us we all go sit down here and know what we're doing. I mean, what's the point of a caucus if you're not engaging the party and representing the party's interest and putting forth the party's platform? We don't know what our legislators are out there doing because they're doing all of this stuff on their own. When we speak about these things, then we're considered to be speaking, out of place or speaking to authorities in that we should not be speaking to. But these are some of the issues that make some of us say, you know what? You want me to respect you? You want me to follow you as my leader? There's a way that you have to do things.
Yeah.
There's many issues. I mean, look, anyway, I don't even want to get into the Senator Dillon issue because that for me is more than just political.
No, and we'll let you get into that. Samuel Morgan said
I won't get
into
it. The
NEC needs to structure all political parties structure. Having a political leader is an avenue to dictatorship. Yeah, Liberia needs critical thinkers.
I totally agree with him. I totally agree with what is this business of political leader?
Yeah. But though the struggle between the party chairman and the political leader will continue to persist in the Liberty Party because each feels power centered around them and will not give up. He continues, these political parties are failing the Liberian people and doing nothing by their behaviors and practices to deepen the democratic culture in the country. Gabriel Carter, maybe Dillon didn't understand what was written in the revised document, or maybe it was intentional on his part by raising the concern to make it seem if he wasn't aware. George H.W. Patel, I will agree with your studio guest that the changes in Liberty Party were intended to reflect traditional democratic culture. A good political party bylaws natural support and cherish its political leader anyway. Why should there be a special power block given to a political leader separate from a party chairman? I just don't get it. And Wadei Powell says she doesn't get it. Okay, how does NEC accept instruction from a political party? Or when you have a document that's supposed to go to the NEC, or who liaises? Who is that person between the political party and the NEC?
Any official communications from the political party or instructions, whatever, has to come under the signature of both the chairman and the secretary general. Right? There is also a position in the party called the vice chair for NEC affairs, and that is the person that does the day-to-day liaison. So when there are NEC meetings, when there's all of these different discussions going on, we have someone that serves in that capacity. But officially communicating between a political party and the NEC requires if you even look at the NEC guidelines, there's no such thing in NEC guidelines and rules called political leader.
Yeah.
It's not there.
Flomo from our YouTube said, why wasn't the document attached to the signature paper? And Sweetie Sharp said, exactly. This was incomplete document that they were signing. And, you know, sometimes, and based on the press conferences and everything, and we are winding this down now, you know, and let me put in more comments, and then Emery Nico said, why would you take a copy of them when they already had their copy? So Emery is saying, and I call this a pen boy, just to make the point, when the pen boy was going with the flying sheet for them to sign, Emery is saying, he didn't have to have the entire document because they already have it. I don't know how Emery would say that. And then Sweetie is always also talking about how can you carry prior date on an amended document. Emery, the neutral date supersedes the prior date for signing, but those dates are still important. Somebody, what is the lady talking here? If you don't know what the lady is talking, listen a little more, then you will get it. So, and what I'm listening to all these press conferences, and in fact, the one by Mr. Aloysius Toh was just bad. I mean, he characterized Ure. I mean, when you hear from him, you just want to take Ure to jail.
I haven't heard it.
Yeah. My point here is it that. And then, in fact, what he said was, hey, they were planning to overthrow President Weah, and because ANC did not accept it, this is why they're doing all this. So he said the next demonstration after June 7 was a plan, the Weah step down. And that was a ploy by ALP to do all this. And because ANC resisted, that's why all this is coming about. And I'm saying to myself, okay, you were telling me that this CPP that you were all doing this, everything behind it saying, and it was not really in our interest. You were doing some things that I would characterize as dirty deeds in the back. Now, because you have trouble, you are telling, oh, hey, this man was doing this. So it looked like secret league. You out there now, and now you are castigating one another. That's how it appears to me.
I'm actually gonna have to, now that you're telling me about all of this, I'm gonna have to spend some time and go look at that ANC press conference that somebody was trying to overthrow the president and what?
Right. So the whole Weah step down campaign was something to bring the president down, and because ANC resisted, this is the blowback. Right. So it's like all of you were in the background doing things as long as it benefited you. You didn't tell us anything. Now the chicken is coming home to roost, and you're bringing all your secret outside. Should we be interested in this? Should we trust you?
Right.
Then let's have a caller.
All right. Caller, go ahead. You're live.
Hello?
Hello, sir. Go ahead. You're live.
Yeah, this is me, Reference Pro. I would say, I guess, Mrs. Powell. I mean, if I can call her like that, if that's okay.
Aloysius Toh, the ANC secretary?
Yeah, the lady on the line there.
No, I mean, what's your name and where you calling from?
This is Riverside Pro.
Oh, Riverside Pro. Okay, go ahead, Riverside Pro.
Yeah, hi to your studio guest. My question has to do with, she mentioned that if I did get it correct, she talked about good health. A candidate should be in good health. What is her criteria, or what are the criteria of a good health? Because as far as I'm concerned, yes, in the United States, once your health condition does not hinder your ability to function properly as a candidate, as a presidential candidate or whatever position. So what is their criteria? What is their definition of good health?
Thank you.
Okay.
The CDB.
Hold on, Wadei. What up, Mr.? Do we have another caller?
Yes.
Yeah, caller, go ahead. Wadei, please jot it down. We have few callers. Let's take two more, and then we can.
Caller from Rhode Island with phone number ending in 8737. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Flomo Livingston. I've been watching the show.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question for a guest. She was talking about why the political leader have all these powers. My question to her is, when she joined the party and the late Bronsky was the leader, why they didn't introduce the changes that they're doing now?
That's a very good question. Please start that, and I want to answer that question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Dennis, she can take the two now.
Go ahead. Why now? You are afraid of Bronsky? He's gone now.
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, this was a conversation that he and I did have. I joined Liberty Party, like I said, at a time where it was entering the election space, 2017 election space. So it was on the cusp of that. And this was a conversation that he and I had, and I always asked him. I said, Uncle Charles, why is there a need for a political leader and the chairman and this and that? Because I know that in other countries this doesn't exist. And as a matter of fact, there was one point in time where we even had, in addition to political leader, this was after 2017. When Yumley was named political leader, that this other thing called the vision bearer came out. So and I never got a response that was satisfactory to me. The good thing about Councilor Brumskin, may his soul rest in peace, is that you could argue your point with him. He may not agree with you. I mean, not meet a mutual understanding on certain things, but it does not mean that he was not going to be willing. As a matter of fact, he loved an argument because I guess that was the lawyer in him. So I would challenge him all the time with this. But one of the things that even he, before his passing, was open to, is reflected in the convention that we went to in 2018 in Lufa, was that the Constitution needed to be amended. So this was not something that was necessarily just pulled out from the sky, It was discussed before. But we were in an election year in 2017. You're in an election year. That is not the time to be going to go change your constitution and all of that. But to say that it wasn't challenged, I challenged it. I challenge everything.
Yeah.
That's just who I am. And he was not the kind of person to say that you cannot challenge me because of XYZ. Absolutely not.
And then the question on good health from Riverside Pro.
Yes. So so the why I see good health, once again, this is one of the key problems with this framework documents. A lot of things are just left ambiguous, right? Because it doesn't define what good health is, right? But the general definition of good health is exactly the definition that he gave. You go to the doctor will test you for your normal regular things, and it will give you a clean bill of health. Like somebody said, when you go there for your annual physical, for example, right? The doctor tests for everything that needs to be tested for your particular age group, for your particular gender, for your particular what. There are certain tests that you have to take, and at the end of the day, the doctor will say yes, clean bill of health, go, or no, we found these problems. It's general. It's not to go check for. I wouldn't think that is to go check for any kind of specific thing to say it'll be looking for. No. But once again, it would have done the writers of this document to clearly state what
good health
was for in good health.
Thank you. Let me read a few more comments and then we come with your closing comments so we can do this. Joe Moise, Wadei is aggressively eloquent and articulate. Maybe she should be the political leader of the Liberty Party. I see most of the ANC people writing here support you, Wadei.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Another ANC guy, Emerald Nicole, says she is by far balanced and better than almost all of them. She is objective and uses fact. Yeah, rather, Thomas say you just lie on DeLon. Talking about me now. DeLon did not say that Musa Bility did say that Musa Bility was acting like a BM. He didn't say that Musa Bility was a BM. Thank you for the nuance, but I don't acting like BM, being BM. I was not really quoting directly. Last question here from Abel. Do you believe your current chairman tamper with your party documents or constitution? Wadei, that's your question. Do you believe Musa Bility tamper with the constitution?
I don't. Is that about Musa Bility? Nobody tampered with the Constitution. The Constitution was not tampered with by him or anybody else.
All right. Thank you so much for coming to provide some clarity on the issues in the LP. We will not hesitate to call you. Please go and watch that press conference from ANC. I mean, it was pretty strong.
I definitely will.
So let's get to your closing comments, and we'll again close the broadcast. We want to thank you for coming and thank our viewers for staying here with us.
I think what I want to leave the viewers with is just this thought. We constantly look at people who are elected to office, and we complain once they're elected and they sit in the office. We complain that they're not doing things that are beneficial to the Liberian people, that they're not performing, and so forth and so on, right? But at the end of the day, I think what we fail to recognize is that in political parties are governments in waiting, right? So exactly how the political party behaves as a political party is exactly how they will behave as a government. And so we must start to treat our political parties as democratic institutions and not people farms. We must start changing the way we look at our political space and moving away from this idea of the imperial leader and moving towards the idea of consultations and engagement. If you're not able to convince me of something, then that means you're not able to lead me. A good leader is able to convince people. A good leader is able to champion things and say, listen, come sit with me. Even a good Bible, Dennis tells you, come, let's discourse. Even God can tell you when you want something from him. Come sit down and tell me what you want. Let's talk about it. So who are we as men that nobody can sit and have a difference of opinion with you on something? That's not having a difference of opinion or a difference of position on something is no reason for all of this hullabaloo to be going on. We got to stop this issue, this business of wanting power so badly that we're willing to destroy the very thing that has the potential to give us this power. There's a difference between power and authority. You can have power and not have authority. And you can have authority and not have power. Let's understand this. But one thing I do know, the path that Liberty Party is on right now is not going to be thwarted. We are going to continue on the path of preaching, acting, executing democratically. I say this, anybody who wants to be a part of this change, this is the time to come. Liberty Party is open. But anybody who thinks for 1 second that we're going to go back to a time or start behaving like a political party that has one person that so say one, so say all, is not going to happen in Liberty Party. That I can guarantee. Not as long as I'm there.
Thank you so much, Ms. Powell. And hopefully we're going to have you back and come back again for Tough Talking Thursday, this Thursday. We want to thank you so much for coming. We want to thank our viewers. On that note, we're going to be ending the broadcast, and as we always do, whether you agree that the CPP framework was altered or the unity or the LP document was altered or not, whatever you believe, whether you are for the Liberty Party, the Unity Party, the ANC, or the CDC, we are all Liberians, and we must do whatever it takes to make that country the glorious land of liberty. Have a good day, and God bless you.
We are Liberians.